Hello and welcome to Greenbytes Wednesdays. Greenbytes Wednesdays is a podcast series where we facilitate critical conversations and steer consciousness when it comes to understanding the impact of our digital footprint across Nigeria's technology ecosystem. We hope that with this advanced knowledge, we can introduce you to some tools, trends, and best practices that can enhance your knowledge about digital sustainability. Are you curious about climate change? Are you a tech enthusiast or a climate entrepreneur? Come on board and learn on this episode as we get on with every conversation of the Greenbytes Wednesday podcast series. This podcast is proudly brought to you by Area I under the Scale Initiative, funded by the UK government through the Digital Access Program. My name is Seyifunmi Adebote and I am glad to be your host. Welcome on board. Hello, and thank you for joining Greenbytes Wednesday. This is another episode, and on this episode, we'll be talking about something very interesting: money. Not money per se, because most times when people talk about environmental conversations, then they leave out the financial part of it. But it's very important that we speak about this area. My name is Seyifunmi Adebote. I'm your host. And if you've missed other episodes of Greenbytes Wednesday, feel free to check them out. On Greenbytes Wednesday, what we do is we have critical conversations and we try to stir up some consciousness within you when it comes to the digital ecosystem. We also introduce you to some of the trends and tools in Nigeria's digital sustainability space. Welcome and thank you for joining us. I want to say a very big thank you to the UK government for making resources available for us to bring this episode, and to say to you that this Greenbytes Wednesday series is part of Scale for Net Zero. Scale is Smart Climate Awareness, Learning and Empowerment Program. When we speak about climate change as a space on its own, or when we narrow it down to greenhouse gases emission, one thing comes to fore every now and then, and it's around low carbon. Sometimes you hear things like net zero, and the whole idea is, how can we adopt technologies? How can we become a system that develops but yet with minimal carbon emissions? And to get this working in practice, it means a lot of financial resources has to come into the picture. And Nigeria, a few years ago, launched and established what it called the Low-Term Low Emission Development Strategy. Some call it LT-LEADS. And basically, it's just like every other country. And this is sort of the political or policy framework that puts forward how Nigeria is committed or hopes to work towards reducing greenhouse gases emissions, sort of developing but yet not polluting the environment. And it has like this very fancy lofty goal, if you ask me, but it is also quite demanding. It is quite a lot of work for us to sort of move to this utopia place, if you call it that, especially considering that Nigeria is a developing nation and we do not have it easy when it comes to the financial bits of all this. And this brings us to the conversation: financial strategies for low carbon technology adoption. My guest today is Noro Ezekiel. Welcome, Noro.
Thank you so much.
Yes, Noro is the head of growth innovation at Ceesolar, and Ceesolar is a renewable energy company that bridges the energy gap. She has also been the person responsible for leading conversations when it comes to grants, equity, and debt financial mechanisms within the company. Also, she does a little bit of work when it comes to ensuring partnership with other stakeholders. Noro, it's really, really a pleasure to have you on Greenbytes Wednesday. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
How are you feeling today?
Very-
Start with that.
Feeling very good.
Lovely.
Nice to be here.
Welcome indeed. So let's sort of set the pace. When it comes to low carbon, why do we really need to have conversations around low carbon technologies?
So I would say a very key reason why we need to have these conversations is for the future. When you talk about sustainability, when you talk about decarbonization, climate change, what are we really talking about? We're talking about how we can be sustainable, how our activities today do not hamper the future, does not hamper the outputs of what the earth can give us for the future generations. In the next 100 years, I doubt any of us will still be here. So what are we leaving behind, really? What are we leaving behind for the future generations? Are we going to leave a trail of destruction?
Yeah.
And we really have to think about that. So when these conversations come up, more than the lofty goals, as you mentioned, more than the strategies and the policies, I would say people really need to look at it from, if you have a niece, if you have a younger brother, if you have a child at home, what am I leaving for this child? What happens when it gets destroyed and this child will not really be able to benefit and enjoy some of the privileges I've enjoyed.
Wow, thank you. Thank you very much. And y- I must say very respectfully, we've spoken with dozens of guests on this episode. And many times we talk about these conversations from a place of, policy and very well, sort of very academic
Yeah.
basis. But what you just said now is very personal. Like everyone can relate to, having a child, having a little niece, seeing young people around, and that thought around what are my actions today? What will they mean a few years from now? And I think that's something to keep in mind. But what this also tells me is that we all have a part to play. We all have our respective roles to play. Uh, in some way, we can call ourselves stakeholders, whether we're in the government side of things, or we're investors, or we're just consumers, and every one of us is, or even those who regulate these policies. What How can we identify our roles? And we hope that from conversations like this, you, the listener, can find out, okay, this is where I fit in the puzzle, and this is what I can do about it. On this episode, like I said when we started, we are going to explore the investment opportunities within the low carbon technologies. You work around renewable energies, for example.
Yeah.
There's also conversations around energy efficiency. There are conversations around sustainable data centers. And today's conversation will sort of highlight what are the long-term benefits, what are the futuristic benefits of investing in areas or demonstrating sustainability as we adopt a low carbon or sort of as we embrace low carbon technologies. To get on with the conversation, let me ask you very directly, what innovative financial models have you seen that has proven very, very efficient when it comes to supporting low carbon technology in Nigeria?
Okay, yeah. To bring it home to Nigeria, I really like the fact that you said in Nigeria, we always have to personalize. It's just like somebody in the government telling you the country is fine, but your gate man or your neighbor close to you is not really feeling the effect of the government being fine or the economy being fine. You always have to bring it down to our level.
Yep.
What are we seeing? What are we perceiving? How is it affecting us? In Nigeria, two key financing models stand out. The first is power as a service.
Power as a service.
Yes, or PASS, yeah,
Okay.
PAAS, power as a service model, or energy as a service. So for these organizations, maybe big tech organizations will necessarily not need or not have to maybe bear the burden of um, maybe adopting a renewable energy system. They can be cost intensive, yes.
Okay.
Imagine you have a very big company, you guys consume a lot of power, so much so that you're probably paying your disco a 20 million naira charge for power every month. To solarize that kind of organization would really maybe set you back financially. So we have organizations in Nigeria that provide this power as a service,
Okay.
energy as a service. So they, just like your disco, will be providing that power for you, but it's going to be as a subsidized rate because you do not have to pay for the entire system.
And will that be renewables?
Yeah, renewables. Yeah, renewable options.
Okay.
So we've seen this happen for a number of manufacturing commercial companies. Even here in Idu, you have some of them that are offered these models by some renewable energy companies in Nigeria.
So let's get it clear. This very first of, I hope will be many financial model is power or energy as a service.
Yes.
And it means that an external party provides your energy
needs, yeah.
and can provide or sort of charge you based on usage.
And that's, yeah.
And this energy need is completely green.
Yeah.
Great.
So we have that model currently is working in Nigeria. We have, even for Ceesolar, we have had clients that we've provided this sort of service to. Then you have the power purchase agreement kind of service. So for this particular service, the power provider or the renewable energy company, the RESCO, will provide that power at a fixed rate. But you sign an agreement, a long-term agreement, say from 15 to say 25 years with that off-taker. By off-taker, I mean maybe the organization or the company that needs that power. You sign an agreement. What that particular one does for them is that it protects them from any effects, fluctuations in the market. So if me and you have that agreement and I tell you you would pay me 100,000 naira every month, that protects you. If the dollar increases even up to 3,000, you still pay that because we have agreed, and you pay that for a period of time, for that period of years. So yeah, we have those type of arrangements.
And you call this the power
purchase,
power purchase agreements.
Yes, sir.
This is very interesting. So let's date back to 10 years ago. This is 2025-ish. Let's say 2015. I signed this agreement with you when the naira to a dollar was maybe somewhere around 150, 160, 300 maybe. Are you saying today, when the dollar is sometimes costing close to 2,000, I'll still pay the same thing?
So yes, there's let me.
It doesn't make sense for the service provider.
So there are parts of it I'm actually leaving out because maybe it's a little bit technical. So
Okay.
when you're modeling financially, when you're modeling your finance or your numbers in renewable energy, there's always the angle where you have to consider the inflation. You understand? So after year in, year out, the inflation goes up.
Okay.
So it's going to be stated in that contract that every year the money or the amount you, the customer, is paying will go up by certain percent.
Okay.
You understand? So it just progresses up until the time when the agreement is null and void. Then you decide if you want to renew the agreement. Well, I think every renewable energy company, every developer, they understand this. You understand? They understand that the dynamics. But I think the key thing will be the transparency between the power provider and the client. Holding your client's hand. We find that not many people do that, but it's a very important part of the conversation when it comes to renewable energy, because I know that there are people that still do not believe that renewable energy works and it can work for certain scale.
Yeah.
But you find that it does work because there are big manufacturing companies, even in Nigeria. I know, I think Guinness or Golda in the southern part of the country, they have renewable energy that they use, solar solution that they use to power their factories.
As big as it is.
As big as it is.
So we talked about power purchasing agreements. We talk about power as a service,
or energy as
a service as two. Are there any other innovative?
So how green the green bonds?
Okay.
Yeah. So green bonds, basically, these are bonds that are particular to green investments.
Okay.
You understand? So that incentive or that investment is particular to green investment. The likes of Apple, they have programs like this. And in Nigeria, I can make mention of the 85 billion naira bond the Lagos government have, just to push sustainability projects. So we have this kind of projects. We have the carbon markets where you're able to trade your carbon credits. So we have this type of investments.
Great. So many questions and controversies around the carbon market. We'll not delve into that on this episode. But for the green bond, I know that it's done really well, that the first sold out and they launched the second one. And I know there are plans to do a third one. Do you have any green bonds as an individual?
No, not yet. very soon.
Okay.
We're looking to diversify. So yeah.
Interesting. So moving on with the conversation, and in the line of the works that you do, Ruth, is it okay to call you Ruth?
Yes.
Noro Ruth. Yes.
Okay.
What are some emerging trends in the financial landscape? Or just sort of introduce us to what the financial landscape is when it comes to um, embracing low carbon technology. What's the financial landscape like?
So I will personally say that there are a lot of people that want in on it, especially as regards sustainability, renewable energy. That is a good problem if you ask me, because it means you have more people trying to invest. You can more funds to actually meet certain needs. So I would say the landscape, it looks good. They are financing programs, financiers, investors coming in to actually get in on this sustainability. While that is good, we're all human beings. The motive for some people will not necessarily be the same motive for others. So
Okay, interesting.
give it
So, take for instance, you're speaking with someone who's looking to invest in some low carbon technology. What are some trends that you would say the person should be aware of?
So one thing I would say the person should be aware of is the fact that there are sustainability linked loans. They are available,
Loans that are linked to sustainability.
sustainability, So you can get that. Even our local banks in Nigeria, some of them offer these loans.
Really interesting.
Just to ensure adoption. The likes of Sterling Bank, they're really big on sustainability, pushing for the green, the Eco Earth. The likes of FCMB, Access Bank, a whole number of them. So we have sustainability linked loans. So these loans, I know there are different types, but generally these loans, they help to encourage adoption of clean technology in Nigeria.
Okay, interesting. Maybe we connect this a little bit to the work that you do at Ceesolar, and you talked about different financial mechanisms. You talked about grants, you talked about equity and debt. What's the difference, if you could introduce to a layman, and I am one? So tell me about it. What does this mean in terms of um, improving or sort of feeding into low carbon technologies?
Okay, so let me start with the grants. Grants typically they come in to address a problem, especially for marginalized people. And people that cannot on a normal day afford that solution, but they need it.
Okay.
And they probably have work they do with it. They have a productivity angle to their sales as a people, but it's being hampered by a lack of this and that. So the grant comes in to either subsidize or provide the solution to the people. So it thereby empowers people. You understand? It's empowering these people, it's empowering the community or the individual, just ensuring the person is able to do the work, the productive work that they need to do and they want to do. So empowering people, empowering economies, grants coming to do that. Then for the equity. So for the likes of Ceesolar, it's an organization. It's been in operation for a number of years. It is expected that we have grown to an extent where we have something to leverage on. You understand? You have a certain amount, you have something to hold, leverage on and say, this is mine. And so I've worked this hard, I've been able to acquire this. Your equity can be your investments, your properties, and all of that. So
how do you use that for what does that mean
so in
practice?
That was just an example, but most times it's in liquid form. This equity is in liquid form. So you can have it in investments, in maybe structure and everything, but by equity I mean how many percent, what is our stake in it? What is how much skin in the game do you have? So if you're raising funds for a particular project and maybe somebody's trying to finance, maybe part financing, that's through grant, and they ask you, how much equity do you have? Does it really matter to you so much? So what are you putting in? It's like what do you have? What do you have?
On the line.
Yeah, what are you putting in the line? So your equity is that investment. that you would typically put in because you believe so much in that project. Or
Yeah. What's that word when you go to the bank? Collateral. Is that
yes, it's almost
quite similar?
similar.
Okay. And then the third mechanism, that's
Debt finance.
debt financing.
I think that one is pretty clear. So debt financing, you get an investor or a financier that finances you and you pay over time. So those are the three major types of financing in this space. And yeah.
Okay. So I just love that we're a bit practical also with these conversations. So take, for example, we're here in Nigeria. Do we need some of the solutions? Yes, we do. But how then do I get grants to finance some of my low carbon ideas?
So
Your thoughts?
yeah. I know there are platforms that push out this opportunities.
Okay.
There are certain platforms that you can maybe sign up on their mailing list and you get updates
Okay.
currently. This is where partnerships for me come in. You network with people, you meet people, you have conversations, you're able to discuss certain things, your values align, and then you're in on some of these opportunities through these partnerships. So another place I would say is LinkedIn.
Okay.
LinkedIn is a very good place to find some of those sustainability grants.
Okay. Great. Lovely. So as we get on with the conversation, I'm wondering, if you think of organizations, and it could be any of the ladder SME, as you think of it, small, medium, or established enterprises. But if you think of these different groups that are running business as usual, as we call it, but now they are seeking to align the work that they do with low carbon investments, do you think that it offers, do you think that aligning with low carbon investments offers any unique advantage in terms of how they finance their operations?
Yes, aligning with local, it definitely does, whether we like it or not, especially if you're looking at scale. If you're looking to scale as a business or an organization in Nigeria, you're looking at the long term, you're looking at international, international level,
Growing
international.
yeah.
It is very important because you find that people that are looking to partner with you, people that are probably looking to invest in you, will be looking out for some of these sustainability metrics in your organizations. What do you have in place? Have you done this? Have you done that? So it's very important. It's very key. It's like I mentioned earlier on, it's future looking. So if you're looking at the future, if you're looking to scale, what are you doing now to support that?
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, great. Interesting conversations. And yes, we've been talking about money, the financial strategies for low carbon technology adoption. My guest has been Noro Ruth Ezekiel. She is the head of growth and innovation at Ceesolar, and we've been discussing. It could be a little bit technical. Even for me, it's more like a crash course, if you ask me, learning about some of these financial tools and mechanisms. But one thing that I'll take is these different types of financial mechanisms you talked about. The debt, equity, and grant model. But I would really think that many of us, we think only of grants. And if you look at it in terms of comparative advantage, would you say there is one that has advantage over another? And also in terms of access, would you say there is one that is easier to reach over another?
Okay. It's relative if you ask me. It's very relative. What solution are you preferring? How relevant is it in the current Nigeria or in that location you're trying to provide that solution for? People feel grants is easy money.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as it may seem. You understand? You would have a whole lot of monitoring and evaluation. You have just because a lot of people want the same grant, you have to do the extra work. And so what sets you apart? What's the extra in your extraordinary? And so what are you putting that is convincing this person giving you this money that you're able to deliver and you're actually able to deliver this that you said you would do. And more than anything, I would say managing that fund or that support would likely affect you. You either make or mar you in the future. I see. You can take money and decide to build a duplex. You understand? these things go around. Financiers now would ask for your sometimes very personal details, your social media platforms, accounts, all of them, Facebook, Instagram. They do a lot of back work. They're going to find out about you. So imagine thinking it is free money. You take it and you just do what you want. It doesn't speak well to your credibility. And for people or organizations that are forward thinking, it will not do so good for you. It will not do well for the future of that business or that person. So I feel like people need to really look ahead. How does this affect me in the future? If I'm able to manage it well now, I would probably be able to manage it properly. The Bible says something about if you're faithful with the little, in time you would definitely be faithful with the big. So
Great.
that kind of principle, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Noro. You talk about accountability there, being accountable for what you have, and also being futuristic, not just thinking, hey, I have this little piece of cake and I want to eat it. There's also a Yoruba saying that "Owo tomode ba kokori akara lo ma fi je." It literally means the very first money that you see as a child, you just want to consume and eat it up. But it shouldn't be so if you're thinking of being a sustainable enterprise that can stand the test of time and still be relevant many years down the line. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been Greenbytes Wednesday, and we're very excited to bring you these critical conversations. And we hope that these conversations can stir within you some reflective consciousness when it comes to the digital footprint in Nigeria, when it comes to understanding in a clearer sense of things the Nigerian technology ecosystem, and also introduce you to some of the tools and trends when it comes to digital sustainability. And I want to say a very big thank you to the UK government that makes it possible for us to bring these conversations. We're very excited and grateful. Also, check out the Scale for Net Zero website, where you can find other tools, other courses that can help you understand or engage very more critically with issues around digital sustainability. We cannot talk about money without referencing the uncertainties when it comes to the financial landscape. There's, inflation, for example, stares everyone in the face, and it's very unpredictable.
Yeah.
So can you sort of walk us through some of these financial threats that companies or individuals that are looking to embrace low emission technologies, or that are looking to become more sustainable? What are some financial hurdles that they come across?
So one major one is the fact that we have an FX problem in the country. That's not
By FX, you mean
foreign exchange, and it so much affects the dollar to naira equivalent, and because Nigeria is majorly an importing country, we import a lot of this materials, the raw materials or the components for some of this clean technology. It greatly affects us. So there's that risk, and most times it is translated to your customer, because your customer is in the country. The customer understands this thing, so they watch the news and they ask you for quotes today, and you tell them it is 500 naira, and tomorrow they say, I'm willing to pay, and you say, sorry, okay, this thing is now 1K, and it's not your fault necessarily. It's not necessarily your fault, and it's not the customer's fault. So we have that risk, and it changes a lot of people's minds. It just it throws a lot of people or organizations off, because they feel this is not sustainable. But we have organizations like the All
On?
Yes, it's an investment arm of Shell. They have been very pivotal to Ceesolar's growth. They support organizations and many renewable energy companies that want to provide the solutions to some of their customers. They have a sort of financing model where they finance for your components. It protects you from all of the inflation, FX change and all of that. So we have some of those solutions. We have innovative solutions that financial organizations are coming up with to help anchor the renewable energy companies. So once we're happy, we're comfortable, we're able to serve our customers better. So that's one very key or very major problem that we face here in Nigeria. I feel that's financing.
Thanks for sharing the problem and also the solution. Back to the problem. Do you also think about how do I put it? Maybe to put it in a very layman language, the bookkeeping part of things and how many companies really struggle with that. So you're setting up a company, you have the money, you want to be transparent, but you don't know how to do it.
Okay, so yes, a lot of companies struggle with corporate governance. I like to call that corporate governance. When your company is not structured properly, you do not have the right corporate governance, and it might be fine in the first few years, but if you're looking to scale, there is no way you are going to scale without having the right structure. It is very important to have the right structure. We have programs that offer technical assistance in Nigeria. We have programs in the tech space. I'm not very conversant with the space, but I'm very certain that there are programs like that, because I have been to conferences where the conversation is around the nexus between renewable energy and technology tech. So there are programs that offer some of those solutions. For we in the renewable energy space, again, I'll call all on, because they have a hub where for people that they are financing or looking to finance, they offer technical assistance to you. We have the T program, TEA, under the US AID or US ADF, where they also offer technical assistance to companies like this. So with the likes of the M3 MTT program under tech, I know that definitely programs will come up like this, because okay, you want to invest in these people, you want these people to grow, you need to teach them how to grow, you need to teach them what they need to put in place. So for a lot of companies in Nigeria, there will have to be that work of putting the right structures and corporate governance structures in place in order to scale. That to last 30, 50, about 30 years. You have to.
At least to scale the first 5 years. I hear that if you as a company get through the first 5 years, then at least you have your works together and can move forward from there. Ruth, I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Okay.
What's the word now? Profitable are low carbon technologies, or sort of being a low carbon entity as against business as usual. How profitable is it? We might sort of just imagine that I am an investor and I have two options. One guy is telling me, hey, you can make 2 times your money in 3 years with us. We don't care about sustainability. And you are there saying, because we care about sustainability, there's a lot of investment when we start. It's going to take you 10 years, but we'll get your money back.
Yeah.
As an investor, you know the answers that I would likely choose, or that the person would likely choose. So how profitable would you say it is when entities try to embrace low carbon technology in the work that they do?
So the sustainability, the low carbon conversation is a long-term game, like I mentioned. So as an investor, you have to be thinking long-term. Over time, some of the conversations in the sector that had come up was some investors, some commercial banks in Nigeria did not really understand what the climb was. They will give you a loan and be expecting it in 24 months. But this is not how this plays out. You understand? You're taking power to a rural community that has never seen light. So how do you expect that after I set up, you're not even giving me time to start recouping the money? And how much are you going to charge just for, when you're still trying to make impact? So there's a whole lot of understanding of the sector too that has to come into place. We said there's conversations around even teaching the investors, like this is actually the reality of the market. That investor is typically not going on sites. The investor is not crossing rivers, getting all dusty. You are meeting the people, you're having that engagement, you're feeling their pain points. So you understand that investor asking me to pay him this money in 3 years, go work. It wouldn't work.
So one thing that you say, and you say very clearly, is that when we think about financing for low emissions, we have to think futuristic. You have to think beyond the now, right? Yeah. And in practical terms, I know that policy-wise, this is needful, this is important, but in practical terms, what do you think can urge people to really think beyond the now?
I would say in practical terms, you bring it down to their level. You help them see what you're trying to say. One typical example I would give is growing up. I grew up in the state housing in Plateau State, Jos. So the area was called State Locust. And anybody that knew State Locust in maybe the 90s or early 2000s would attest to the fact that the environment was very beautiful. We had a lot of trees on every street, flowers and all of that. So there was that sense of sustainability. I could see green everywhere. But if you go back to State Locust right now, the case is entirely different. Everybody has pulled down the trees, they have their fences up, and it looks very, very, very bland. There's nothing nice about it. So going back, this is my own childhood. I could see that in those days there was some sense of sustainability and responsibility towards that. People planting trees, people tending the trees, the flowers around their house as well. We don't find that now. So if you can personalize it for the individuals or the off takers, you show them the adverse effects. You explain to them that this is why they need this. It saves you, it protects you in the future. Then they can understand where you're coming from.
I see.
If you're going to the grassroots, you have to make it understandable for them.
Great. Thank you very much. Just as we wrap up this conversation, I was thinking along the lines of these three major financial mechanisms you mentioned earlier: grants, equity, and debt financing. And I wonder if think of crowdfunding, for example. Where does this fall into, and how would you sort of present this as one of the methods?
So for a developer like Ceesolar, whether we go to crowdfund or not, the crowdfunding will typically fall under debt. Only if people are crowdfunding you for impact,
Okay.
that will fall under grants. So, because I know that there are some grants facilities that got into crowdfunding. So I would say crowdfunding can be a means to which you get a certain type of finance. With crowdfunding, you can either decide if this finance you're offering to a renewable energy firm or an ICT firm is either debt or equity or grants. Me and you can crowdfund and we give to somebody and tell the person pay us in 2 years. That's debt finance.
And is that what you then define as blended?
So for blended financing, you find that you pull your funds from private investors and public investors. So some sort of crowdfunding it happens in blended finance.
Okay.
And when you pull these funds together, you have a particular rate, a blended interest rate. Because when you're crowdfunding from, say, the markets, you use the market's rate. You're crowdfunding from maybe an FDI, and you have a concessional rate for sustainability projects. You blend those two rates, and whoever you're giving the money to now has a new interest rate that is different from what they will probably get from a normal.
It was only the market.
Yes, for a normal commercial bank. So crowdfunding, I would like to think of it as some sort of activity or a method to actually either get blended finance or your equity or debt. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Noro. I wonder, like I said, this is not a field that many people are familiar with. And if you ask me, it's just a few of you in the space really understand and help us to walk through the financial component of wanting to be sustainable, isn't it? Are there other things that we haven't touched upon that you think is very important for the listener to keep in mind?
Okay, so I would say if you really want to consider as a tech organization or a tech company, one key thing you should be looking at doing is deciding for yourself first that you want to be that company that incorporates sustainability in their practices. When you do that, you can now leverage your partnerships. You look to partner with people that are already in this space and understand this, that can guide you. You leverage those partnerships, and it's from those partnerships that you can leverage certain opportunities that either the government or private investors are offering. Okay. So yeah, basically that was.
Anything else to keep in mind?
I would say sustainability is everybody's business. sustainability, keeping the earth clean, keeping the earth green. When you take that pure water, you take that bottled water, you don't just throw it on the road. It is your business as much as it is mine. So we should be conscious, even as individuals, we should be conscious of how and what we do and how it affects our environment. Maybe if you invite me on another episode, you can talk more about waste and waste management in Nigeria, because I feel like it's another major problem we are having.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Noro. I should also say that we part of this series of episode also has focused quite a lot on e-waste and digital waste and what it means and how to get around it. That's also maybe not as topical as you would think of waste generally. I've been speaking with Noro Ezekiel. She is the head of growth and innovation at Ceesolar, a renewable energy company that has been bridging the energy gap in Nigeria with works not just in Abuja, but also in rural parts of the country. We've also spoken about, or as part of her role, she works with the different types of financial mechanisms from debt to equity and grants financing. And she's walked us through how that is also relevant for you or people in your network that are looking to explore new technologies that are low emissions, or that are of low emissions, I should say. We've also spoken a lot about the role of partnerships. What does it mean? The contacts you have, the people you have, how do they sort of help you bring to life some of these ideas? One thing that she stressed a lot is the aspect of accountability, having to be very accountable, to be mindful. She called it corporate governance, having to think about the future and make sure that, all that you do is not just for the now, but you're thinking for the future. But I think my greatest takeaway from this conversation, maybe it's not so much about the financials, but where she talked about that, that human angle to it, that part of empathy, to think that, yes, sustainability is everyone's business, but we also have to think about what world are we leaving behind for those that are coming after us, for the children around us, or even the generation yet unborn. And that's the size on this package of Greenbytes Wednesday. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for listening. Please share with your network, share with people within your circle. And I hope that they can also be part of these critical conversations that we are having here on Greenbytes Wednesday. Greenbytes Wednesday is a part of Scale for Net Zero program. And Scale is smart climate awareness learning and empowerment. Thanks indeed to the UK government for making it possible for us to bring these critical conversations, to steer this consciousness within you, the listener, and also to introduce you to trends, to tools when it comes to the digital landscape in Nigeria. With that said, I want to say thank you to the team, Ayo, Ajibola, Wonderful, and every other person that has made it possible for us to bring you this episode of Greenbytes Wednesday. My name is Seyifunmi Adebote, and just to echo my guest's final words, sustainability is everyone's business. So get to work. Bye for now. Thank you very much for joining us on this episode of Greenbytes Wednesday. This podcast is brought to you by Area I under the Scale Initiative, thanks to funding from the UK government through the Digital Access Program. Have you learned something new? Please share with your network, share with your friends, as I look forward to hosting you on yet another episode of Greenbytes Wednesday next week. Follow us on our social media platforms, check out our courses, test yourself, see how much you know, how much you're learning when it comes to digital and sustainability ecosystem in Nigeria. And I should remind you that as you balance your knowledge of digital ecosystem, also remember to stay committed to a shared and sustainable planet. My name is Seyifunmi Adebote. Bye for now.